Dylan Butler now hanging out with us. So, Jason,
what's up, Dylan?
What's up? It's been a minute, my man.
Yeah, I've been running around like a lunatic as of late after recovering my wind somewhat after COVID last year. But yeah, I've been out at training a lot, been calling as many other games as I can as well, just like you. I know you're doing every sport under the sun.
Trying, man, trying. Our lacrosse season's winding down, which is good.
But nice. Broadcast plans, Jason, for 92.9.
Yeah, we're early tonight. It's a weird one because it's on FS1 as well. So we're on at 6:30 with the Five Stripes countdown. Kickoff is 7:25. So we have a long pregame. Hoping to have Steve Cook from Atlanta United 2 in the booth with us for the second segment. So stay tuned for that. You can listen on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. And then once the game starts, you can listen on Apple TV. Just click the home radio option.
What he said. So Jason goes away and Dylan drops in for full time. So Jason, thanks again. We'll catch up with you soon.
Adios.
All right, there goes Jason. So here's Dylan and on the hot tag. And tonight, Dylan, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this particular match yet. LAFC and Leon. And I've heard that this is one of relative import. And there was a player for LAFC who decided when he was in front of a microphone to say some rather spicy things about the match.
Yeah.
Quoting this individual, I think Mexican teams usually don't play that tactical. It's more or less emotional. Very much 1v1. It's all about fighting. It's all about the emotions. Of course, they've got quality up front, but if we play well, I'm sure we can win over there. If Timothy Tillman wanted to have bulletin board material for Leon, is this the example? Is this the picture in the dictionary under bulletin board material that you would have as a part of your visuals when it comes to a match like this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you like your salsa, but apparently Tillman likes it very, very hot, right? Oh. So he will be in it tonight. If he wasn't planning on being the enemy number one, he's right there tonight. So I'll be interested to see how much Leon players maybe take into that. Like, is there not red card-ish, right? But is that first tackle on him a pretty strong one, right? Like
a little bit of a reminder.
Yeah, it could be interesting for sure. I don't know. I think probably in like a team meeting, Steve Trundle probably was like, maybe not the best things to say here. As a guy who's played for the national team against Mexico for so many years, you don't want to poke the bear. That's for sure.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Jared Smith for Dylan Butler.
Well, John took the elephant out of the room with that one. That's fine. As far as that actual game goes, and just part one in a series, really, what are your thoughts on LAFC's chance here to? I guess the mindset of you're not going to win a two-legged matchup in one leg, but you can sure as hell lose it.
Yep.
There you go. What are your thoughts on how they can manage this and just keep it within, at the very worst, within shouting distance going back?
So I think what's interesting here, guys, is I'll take this back. You don't even argue. It is a fact. This is the first time ever that an MLS team is kind of considered the favorites, right? In this game against the Mexican team. So, and the further back you go is how heavy an underdog they were, right? Like you go back to Salt Lake and Monterrey and huge, underdogs and the former Montreal Impact, similar, right? So you've now graduated to the point of an MLS team being LAFC as the favorites here. And I think there's some interesting things here, right? Like LAFC's been able to set themselves up for this match by playing in multiple competitions and every week. Lyon has not, right? Like, is that advantage LAFC, or maybe is the rest advantage for Lyon, because this is all they've been concentrating on for what, a couple weeks now, right? So the form and fitness is an interesting one. Yeah, Jared, you're right. I mean, like you can, a poor performance in the first leg can really hurt you going to the second. So, I think LA, and I'm sure it's not even a conversation inside the room, but I think LAFC is sort of trying to deal with, and it's still very difficult to go to Mexico to get a result, but also dealing with this kind of monumental pressure of the favorites, right? And think about it for Lyon. How great is this, right? Like, you're home for the first leg. Seemingly everyone's talking about LAFC. Now you've got Tillman, adding to it, right? Like, Vela is coming back to Mexico, so
True.
all the talk and all the and everything is on that team, right? Like, it's off of you, which is great.
Oh, what's the mug this morning, by the way?
Yeah, we're gonna go. We're going a little be a goldfish.
Yes, okay. I did not watch it at midnight last night. So.
No spoilers. I'm like 7 episodes behind.
Yeah, So
I'm gonna fight Apple. I'm gonna fight them.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden Apple decides in the middle of the afternoon to sit there and go, midnight Eastern time. And I think it was because the cast was in Los Angeles supporting the writers' strike, and they were out on the picket line yesterday afternoon. But there was supposed to be like a small celebration, I think at 9 o'clock out on the West Coast with the cast and things like that. But no, I've yet to see it. Probably going to be a little while before I see the finale. Caught up.
I did see the finale of Succession, though. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Well, and do you believe in? Did you bite on the Wamsgans theory?
I don't know if you want to go away with spoilers, but I didn't know if I heard the theory.
Basically, that he was named Wamsgans because of was it Bill Wamsgans, the unassisted triple play, the only unassisted triple play ever in World Series history?
That's how he got the name?
Because of that action was the unassisted triple play, taking out the three.
Oh, the three. Yeah, okay. All right. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so that is a theory that has popped up on social media, that it was named Wamsgans because of the unassisted triple play to take care of every family member and be the CEO at the end of it. I don't mind Succession spoilers because I never watched the show, and I can, I understood it. Brian Cox was fantastic, but and Alan Ruck was fantastic, but I never got into the show, so I can do spoilers for Succession. But Ted Lasso, I've yet to see.
Yeah.
LAG, since we're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Chris Klein
officially out. Take the hashtag out now.
Yeah, well, and I mean, he said at the beginning of the year, if we don't make the playoffs, I'm out. And so they didn't even wait that far. They're just like, bruh, see ya.
Yeah, the scenes at the end of their match against Charlotte were not pretty. And something that, I don't know, is this the growth of the game in the U.S.? Something that we usually see in other countries, right? Like, we just saw that with Milan in Italy, and you see this in Mexico and other places where it's just sort of, the supporters kind of on the spot, like giving it to you, and it suddenly becomes this it's not a confrontation necessarily, right? But certainly a heated conversation, you would say, right? And
yeah, no doubt.
And off of that defeat,
they've pretty much, blanked all season long,
Yeah, no, for sure. But that seems to have been the final straw for Klein to be out. So I think. I don't know, I mean, but here's a question, like, because like he's out, but do they get better from here? Right?
What can you do for transfers?
Nothing.
So
you could trade in the league. right?
But the thing is, if you want to trade with LAG, and I know that none of those players will be named Douglas Costa, if you want to trade with LAG, you're going to hold them over the proverbial barrel and go, well, yeah, if you want so-and-so, well, then we want this, this, and this, because LAG is working from a disadvantaged position in the first place.
Yes.
So I think that if you are a front office vulture in Major League Soccer and you want to do a deal with LAG, you could probably do something, and they might have to sit and take it. This would be castor oil when we were kids, man.
Yeah, well, it's not a good time. And then again, right? Like, you put yourself in those supporters' shoes, and suddenly you're like hate watching. I don't even know if you're watching, right? Because the fortunate thing for them is they're playing, so you can avoid hate watching the LAFC Lyon match. But you're playing in this match tonight, and your biggest rivals, that have just come into the league and have won all these things, and people talking about the greatest team ever, are in the Champions League final. So it's quite a contrast, from downtown LA to Carson.
No doubt. Jarrett for Dylan Butler.
Speaking of tire fires, let's go north of the border, where Lorenzo Insigne backed a bus over his teammates, and no one knows what's true anymore in Toronto, and no one has a clue what's actually going on, because it's just he said.
Mm-hmm.
What? How do you?
And in different languages, like you got to get the Google Translator out.
Oh yeah. There's how do you begin to take apart whatever the hell Toronto has done over, not even just the last week, but the last year?
Heavy sigh from Dylan.
We have time for that.
A heavy sigh is how I've been approaching it too. I'm not mad.
Yeah, no. Well, and to Insigne's credit, then, after this hellfire was ignited, he goes out and sets up a pair of young homegrowns and gets 2 assists, and they win the darn game, right? Like in the words of Bob Murphy, back in the day for the Mets. So yeah, I don't. And then you see at the end, Bradley and Bernadeschi sort of make amends, and now he's back in the lineup, or not in the lineup, I should say. But he's part of the team tonight. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the Italian version of a soap opera is, but that is it there, man. That is for sure.
Yeah, it's like we know telenovela, and we were trying to figure out for telenovelas, but we couldn't figure out what it was. It might be Riverdale if it was produced by the CBC.
There's got to be somebody watches Rye or is whatever RAI.
Nick Alifi, our host of soccer over there, needs to come up with the equivalency when I'm watching Rai Uno.
Yeah, and I would 1,000% watch one of those if it's Italian. Like, oh my god, that'd be crazy.
Other thoughts from the week that was, now as we come into a weekend midweek situation here.
Yeah, I mean, a few that stood out to me. In the East, Philly getting their mojo back, it seems like, right? NYCFC not. Like, even when they've struggled, NYCFC's been able to at least lean on, whether it's Citi Field or Yankee Stadium, that home field advantage they have, and that even right now doesn't seem to be the case, right? So, like at Toronto, like we knew what Toronto needed last year and this year. Central defense, right?
Yeah.
And they've hardly addressed that. NYCFC's needed a center forward. We've known that, right, from the time that Tati Castellanos left and Eber was traded. So they've tried different things. It's not worked. They, unlike LAG, do have the ability to do something in the secondary window, and this is a forgiving league. We've seen that with Sporting Kansas City, right? Like they were at the very bottom, people calling for Vermees's head.
Mm-hmm.
They get a couple of results, and all of a sudden, they're near the playoff line. So it doesn't take a lot in this league to turn yourself around. And I think Houston's an interesting one too, right? Where they're a team that's kind of quietly making their stadium a fortress there. So credit to Ben Olsen, man. Like he, I don't think there are a lot of people super excited necessarily when he got that job.
Yeah.
And the jury's still out. Obviously, it's only 15 matches into the season, but he's done a good job with them, man. Like he's seemingly gotten the buy-in from his guys, and Hector Herrera is the big question mark in that. But they're winning games at home. They're winning Copa Tejas matches, and that's a fan base. That's kind of like that like quiet, under the radar. Like if you can get those guys going, like you can get a great home field advantage, right? Like that's one of those fan bases that they're like, when they're struggling, yeah, they're Houston fans, but I'm also supporting my Liga MX side, right? But when Houston's going, they're out there supporting their team, and beautiful stadium, winning games. It could get that fan base going, and it's been a while for them to do that.
So you're saying it's a fortress? It could be a fortress in Houston. So you're saying it might be a shell?
Yeah, there you go. Well, they've been a shell of themselves, right?
Absolutely
To this point. So.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Well, let's just get off that joke and let's stay in Texas. What the hell, Austin? Because you mentioned the Copa Tejas. It just, I don't want to like run the risk of like condensing a game down to who wants it more, but I don't know how to fix Austin at this point. Like we had talked about Philly, I kept waiting for Philly to come good, and they did, and they are. Yeah. They're rising up the table. They're winning games. I kept waiting for Austin to do that, and it just isn't happening. And it's just even even within the games themselves, they just seem kind of flat.
And the funny thing is, what have we said about them for really 2 years running, right? Like they desperately need a center forward to help out Driussi, and finally they've got a guy who's at least his last 3 matches has scored a goal in Zardes, but they're still not winning games, right? Like Zardes gets his 100th and they lose to Houston. So, I don't know. I don't know how to fix that. And again, the issue I think in Texas, and this is what I love too about the expansion of MLS, is like now there is pressure all around you, right? Like no matter kind of where in the country you are, right? Like before you could even say like Sporting was sort of out there on their own, but now they've got St. Louis bearing down on them, right? Like geographically, and it's always been Houston and Dallas, and Houston's always, not always, but for the last number of years haven't been good, and Dallas have been good. But then Austin comes in and they were good. But now, like for Austin, like, you've got the shiny new stadium, right? Like you had the run to the Western Conference Final last year. Reportedly, you're increasing your season tickets, right? Like, but we need the performance now if you're the fans. And all around us in Texas, the other teams are winning. So I think the pressure certainly is there for Austin. There's no doubt.
Also, we mentioned hot seat. We mentioned premature separations from working arrangements. How much longer do you think Inter Miami is going to stick with their coach, considering you look at the Fire, they were preemptive, but they replaced Ezra. Red Bulls, for a variety of reasons, needed to replace Gerhard Struber, and they did. Toronto's probably right there on the ropes when it comes to Bob Bradley. What about Inter Miami? Right now, the bottom of the table. Yes, I know that they're a win out of jumping up, 4 spots. 5-0-9, averaging a goal a match. They've given up 18. They've lost 3 in a row. So they are the epitome of the streaky club, but right now they are streaking at the bottom of the East.
I would say the answer to that question lies in the Lionel Messi sweepstakes.
He's going to Saudi Arabia. I mean, when you offer somebody allegedly 1.2 double extra large to go and be an ambassador for Saudi Arabia, and we know that they're going to be an ambassador for the 2030 project, the Vision 2030 project. I mean, you can't compete with that. I don't care if you Beckham rule the Beckham rule. You can't you can't create the Messi rule and have it equal $1.2 billion. There's no way.
I'm just saying that if they are in talks and if there is a possibility,
yeah,
I think you hold off on pulling that coaching trigger until whatever happens with him is finalized.
Okay.
Because he's a game changer, obviously, right? Like, he comes in, they start winning games, he's scoring goals. Neville looks like a genius, right? So
true. Yeah. And they need all the help they can get scoring goals. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Jarrett, what else is on your mind as we head into the weekend or the midweek? Who am I kidding?
You talked about the pressure regionally, how it impacts the state of Texas, for instance. We talked about California,
LA. Yeah.
Even on the East Coast, like we see it where like, I guess I wanted to like lead this into getting your thoughts on what DC's done this year, because I know you had the weird game last week where, as if it's a high school game, Wayne Rooney pulls guys before halftime to send a statement. But before that, they had started kind of finding some success with the what do? We play it long to Benteke. Then what? Then we profit philosophy of life. But is DC maybe stabilizing on the whole for the first time in 5 years, kind of?
I don't know. I'm not buying them yet. Like who they've relied, or he's relying, I should say, Rooney is relying heavily on veterans, right? Like Benteke and Klitsch. Like, let's see what happens when it's 85 and humid in DC, or it's August, right? Like, can they continue to get performances from their veteran guys? Not sure. And he seems to have gone away from the youth as well. So I don't know. I don't know if it's sustainable for DC. But I do love the quote from Roy. If he's nothing, he's entertaining. About if I could have switched all 11, I would have done that.
Shouldn't we make a rule in Major League Soccer that if you want to make a fire wagon change, you can?
Can you imagine 11 guys on the sideline ready to come in?
And it doesn't count against your numbers. Like if you substituted your entire brick, it doesn't count against your substitution numbers.
You should be able to do it, but you have to do it like a hockey line change.
Yes. Absolutely.
And you have to build a wall, and they have to climb over the wall onto a bench.
See, and that was part of our saving of the All-Star game, is to allow unlimited substitutions and fire wagon change. Have those kinds of things happen in the All-Star game. I mean, it would be amazing to just sit there and it's like you drift off, you drift on, and it's legends and all these you drift off, you drift on. It's like a change in hockey. You do it, that kind of thing. But if you have to do 11, you want to do 11, you've got to have them all rush on at once, and everybody's got to rush off at once. And it doesn't count against your substitution bricks, your three windows otherwise.
Feel bad for the PA announcer, right? For the next 5 minutes going through all the changes.
Well, and then for play-by-play, Dave Johnson, I'm sure, could handle it. But depending on the team and who did it, you get a full fire wagon change. I know that Mike and Jason could handle it here in Atlanta pretty easily.
Or the poor graphics guy trying to get
the graphics guy. Jarrett, could you imagine the graphics guy with the tombstone trying to switch out that all 11?
Oh my God! Just like your technical director screaming in your ear about what change it. It's this for this. It's this for this. Get it up. Get it down. Get it on. Get it ready. Why isn't it in?
Exactly.
Why isn't it ready?
Yes.
Man, the PSL game I did the other day, we didn't even have They don't announce. They don't even hold a board up to show the subs. They don't announce the subs.
Oh.
They also didn't tell us how much stoppage time was at the end of each half. So we're just like letting the clock run past 45 and 90. Like, it's 3 minutes of stoppage time. We don't know. Your guess is as good as ours.
We'll figure it out. What's going on with Varsity Media, OSDB, and MLS Soccer?
Yeah, so Varsity Media wise, counting down to the end of the season. We don't have the broadcast rights to the Long Island Championships, but we will be there for pre and post game coverage. We're calling it
coverage. That's the way to get around it, brother. There you go.
We're calling it our Mega Cast.
Oh,
which is on all of our social media platforms as well as our YouTube channel. So it's at Varsity Media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Varsity Media on our YouTube. We'll be at Stony Brook's Laval Stadium from 9:30 in the morning on Saturday until 6:30 or so, 7 o'clock at night. So that'll be a fun one. 4 games, Long Island Championships for lacrosse. OSDB, have a fun one you guys could check out. While the World Cup is coming here in 2026, the Foot Golf World Cup is currently happening in Orlando. So I spoke with John Aaron from Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's part of Team USA for foot golf, but I won't give away the entire story. But here's something interesting for you guys and for the listeners, obviously, who are all soccer fans. You would think, right, between the two sports, if you are really good at soccer, that gives you like an incredible edge, right, to play foot golf, because obviously it's like, you're kicking the soccer ball into larger holes on an actual golf course, right? So advantage to the soccer player, right? But Aaron says actually not, because if you think about it, if you take like a goal kick and you're thumping it for distance, you're putting backspin.
Oh, that's true.
On that ball, right? So it can kind of land to the guy you want it to. Here, you got to put topspin on it because you want it to hit the ground, roll towards the hole. And he said too, in soccer, right? You take a free kick, you're Almada and you're taking a free kick, and if you miss the spot you're going to make, it goes into the stands, right? No big deal, goal kick. You miss your spot here, you're probably like a -3. It goes into the water. Like, you've got to, like, it's not. And also the putts are like taking the best foot golfers in the world, take it with their toes, like straight on toe putt instead of like side foot. So,
John, have you ever played foot golf? I need to know this real quick.
Have I? I have not.
No,
John.
No, John.
No.
Okay. That was John. John might spike himself. Is why I asked.
No doubt.